My name is Sarah Woodbury. I'm here today with not only my husband Dan, but my son Taryn to talk about Cilmeri.
Taryn and I look very similar. Last week you talked about Llywelyn and we got to the point where there was a Welsh uprising in the spring of 1282, and Llywelyn was not participating initially, but then in June he jumped in after there was a great Welsh victory and his wife had died in childbirth. What happened then?
The war continued to go well for the Welsh, to the point that by the fall, Archbishop Peckham, the Archbishop of Canterbury, is trying to mediate a peace between Llywelyn and King Edward. King Edward's not done fighting the war, though, so he himself has a plan where he brings an army across the Conwy River, while at the same time another army that has already taken Anglesey crosses the bridge of boats they built to the Gwynedd shore, and together they catch Llywelyn in a pincer movement at Aber.
So you've got Edward in Rhuddlan, and then another force on Anglesey, and they've built a bridge of boats across the Menai Strait.
That's right. So the Menai Strait is this really dangerous body of water that's hard to cross. Tani, who is the commander of the Anglesey forces, decides, however, that he's going to do it all by himself. So at noon on November 6th, he orders his men across the Menai Strait. It's low tide, so the way the Lovat sands work is there's like sand, and then there's some water, and then more sand. So the men start marching, and they cross all the way to the Gwynedd shore, at which point they're set upon by the Welsh who've been waiting for them and slaughtered on the beach. Those who survive that initial attack then attempt to retreat back across the bridge of boats. But by now, the tide has turned, literally, and the water has risen, and they're running to the water to the bridge of boats, which by now has so many men and horses on it that it breaks, dumping them into the Menai Strait. So not only Tani and a bunch of his lieutenants, but 400 men drown. So it's a great victory for the Welsh again. It may well be that Archbishop Peckham was actually at Aber with Llywelyn on the day this happened. Llywelyn isn't really ready to negotiate anymore, not after this great victory, and not after the betrayal, because Archbishop Peckham was there trying to negotiate a truce, and then meanwhile Edward's attacking.
Yeah.
So he thinks, anyway. Edward then sends 2 more missives to Llywelyn. One openly saying, unconditional surrender or nothing. There's a secret letter, however, as well. It's what we talked about last week, where Edward offers Llywelyn an estate in England in exchange for all of Wales. Llywelyn takes both these letters to the Council of Wales, which is his advisors, and this is their reply. The people of Snowdonia, for their part, state that even if the prince desired to give the king seisin of them, they themselves would not do homage to any stranger, of whose language, customs, and laws they are utterly ignorant. For by doing so, they could be brought into perpetual captivity and barbarously treated.
So basically they say even if Llywelyn agrees to his part of the deal and takes land, they're not going to.
They're going to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Shortly after this, Llywelyn receives a letter from Edmund and Roger Mortimer, Marcher Lords, also his cousins, offering to switch sides. Now, on one hand, the Mortimers have always been completely loyal to the English crown. On the other hand, Edmund and Roger are cousins to Llywelyn and Marcher Lords, so they own great estates in Wales. If Llywelyn wins, they stand to lose a lot. Llywelyn decides to take a chance. He leaves Dafydd, his brother, in charge of Gwynedd, and he takes an army south to Builthwell's castle. On the evening of December 11th, 1282, he leaves his army and goes with 18 of his personal guard to meet the Mortimer brothers at a place called Cilmeri. Instead of a meeting, he is ambushed. He and his men are killed. They cut off his head and send it to King Edward, who puts it on a pike at the Tower of London for 20 years. And that's the end of Welsh independence. With a coda in that Dafydd continues the rebellion for 4 more months until he is captured in April of 1283 after the fall of Castell and it's Casaxaberta that we're going to talk about next week. If you like this video, click on the playlist or subscribe to my channel. There'll be a new video next week. And if you want to check out my books, click on the link to my webpage.